Hello everyone, we are back on the Kids Health Revolution private Facebook group and Kids Health Revolution Facebook page with another episode of the school snack series. So welcome back. I'm glad to have you here, and we are cooking up another great recipe today so that you can pack those kids' lunches full of nutrient-dense food that is supporting their gut health. And when we support gut health, we support overall health, right? So that is what this show is all about. That's what Kids Health Revolution is all about, is supporting our kids' health. So whether you're just here because you want to pick up some great recipes to build that really great strong foundation for your child, or if you're here because you have a child that is struggling with a chronic health condition of some kind and you want to help them, give them that support and that leg up that their body needs in order to be able to overcome that health condition and absolutely thrive, then that's what these recipes are all about. And the best part is the recipes are pretty simple. Most of the time I'm featuring recipes that you can make with just a few minutes of hands-on time. The most labor-intensive part of today's recipe, which is a creamy carrot and artichoke dip, is probably just the blending in the food processor or the blender. Just scraping it down to get the real creamy consistency. But you can probably pull this one off in 15-20 minutes of actual hands-on time. I actually timed myself today in chopping up the carrots and the vegetables and getting them in the pan and getting them all greased up to get them in the oven. It took me literally 5 minutes to get them in the oven. Set them in the oven, then they roast, and you can go and do other things or be preparing other things in the kitchen or go and relax and watch your favorite Netflix show for a while. Whatever it is you want to do with that little bit of time you have. Then you come back into the kitchen and whip this rest of this recipe up. So we're going to go through the recipe today. It is creamy and it's got a little bit of a sweetness to it, a little bit of nice umami that comes from the artichoke hearts. Just really nice flavors that I think that your kids will really enjoy. And there's a couple of ways that you can play with the flavor a little bit depending on your family. So I'll make sure that I talk about those as we go. It is 100% GAPS approved. So if you are on the GAPS protocol with your child to help improve their health, this recipe will 100% work for you. It is relatively low histamine. There is some lemon juice in it, so it's not 100% low histamine, but it's low. You should be pretty good unless you've got a crazy case of histamine intolerance, or that lemons and citrus are your sort of key foods. And if that's the case, you could substitute out the lemon and use a balsamic vinegar or something like that in its place. We've got lots of really good healthy fat going into this, which we know is really important for balancing our blood sugar. That helps keep inflammation at bay when we have good level balanced blood sugar. We know the fats are also really good for feeding our brain, and they're also really good in terms of gut health. So good fats going into this, good for helping our kiddos with energy throughout the day. And the flavor's there, let's face it. If there's not good flavor, then your kids aren't gonna eat it. So we've got carrots, which are a great source of beta carotene, which becomes vitamin A in the body, very important for our mucous membranes, also very important for our immune health. We've got cauliflower in here, which is a cruciferous vegetable. Always looking for ways to get those cruciferous vegetables into our kids. So many antioxidants and great health promoting qualities to those cruciferous vegetables. So this is a great way to get our kids to eat them. We've got garlic in here as well, and garlic, as we know, it's a prebiotic fiber for one thing, so it helps feed our gut bugs in our large intestine, helps those probiotics and fermented foods that we're taking. It helps the bacteria in those foods decide this is a good place to live, because there's lots of good food like prebiotic garlic to stick around and munch on. So garlic, onions, asparagus, things like that are good prebiotic fiber. And fiber in general is important in terms of keeping our gut bugs happy and healthy and thriving. And happy, healthy, thriving gut bugs means what? Healthy, happy, thriving kids, right? So Today, we're using roasted garlic. So you'll notice as I was chatting there, I was just peeling that garlic. So what I do for this recipe is I just chop 5 to 6 carrots. If I've got a really big carrot, which I did today, look at the size of that carrot, it was a big one. So I just used 5 carrots for that one. So 5 to 6 carrots chopped up, and then 1 medium head of broccoli, or if that's kind of confusing, then we're gonna look for about 3.5 cups of, not broccoli, cauliflower. 3.5 cups of cauliflower, and I just sort of chop it up into small little florets like that, so you can get a little bit of that roasty, nice color on it. So I've chopped it up, placed it into my Pyrex dish here. I used about a tablespoon of ghee on my hands, and I just slather my hands up with it and then massage it into all of the vegetables, and a good healthy pinch of salt. Hi Luca, how are ya? Pops into the oven at 400 degrees, and there it's going to stay for about half an hour. What you're looking for is a really nice tender vegetable, and you want your cauliflower florets to be really tender as well. If they're not, you're going to get lumpy dip, which is probably not what you want for your kiddos. And then I just throw my garlic cloves right in the clove, just like that, and get a little bit of butter on them or ghee on them as well, and they go into roast. I find that the roasted garlic just gives a really nice, subtle, sort of sweet umami flavor to this. If you like the really sharp garlic taste, then you could most certainly just throw raw garlic in here. So my recipe calls for 2 to 4 cloves of garlic. This recipe of the recipe sounds amazing. Thank you. Thanks, Luca. I hope you like it if you try it. So raw garlic or roasted garlic, and I'm calling for 2 to 4 in the recipe. So that's really going to depend on your family and their taste. So if you have kiddos that are pretty happy to eat garlic, then you might up the garlic flavor in this. Like if your kids like hummus, for example, and a pretty garlicky hummus, then you might be able to go with the 3 or 4 cloves. I'm using 3 in this one because that was one of them was a particularly large garlic clove. So 3 garlic cloves roasted are going into our recipe. And you just peel the skin off, just like I did. Sometimes if the skin won't peel off, you kind of just squeeze it out like a little bit of toothpaste, and it plops out. And then we're just gonna throw our roasted vegetables into the food processor. Now I find it easier to do this in my food processor than in my Vitamix. And I think it's probably because I have just the big wide container for my Vitamix. And so I found I was really fussing with having to push it down all the time. So if you have a food processor at home, that's what I like to use, but certainly a blender will work. So we just throw it all in there, and then we're gonna start layering in some of the flavors and the fats, which of course give it flavor. Hi Nadine. Hey, oh yes, I'm so happy to be coming to Red Deer. So spread the word. We're trying to get a few more bums in seats there at the workshop. So Nadine, if you know anybody else who'd like to come to the workshop in Red Deer, we're doing the Nourishing Your Child's Brain workshop there this weekend on Saturday. Tell them to come on down. Okay, yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have some great information and some tasty stuff for you guys to try too. So I'm glad you're tuning in right now. Okay. So I'm going to bring this a little bit more into our picture here. So we've got our roasted vegetables in there, and now we're going to add in the artichoke hearts. I get these artichoke hearts that are in just a salt brine. I prefer these to the vinegar, and especially if you're trying to keep things low histamine, this is probably a better option for you. And the glass jar is nice because you're avoiding some of the BPAs as well as the aluminum from the can. So I am going ahead and using about 7 to 8 of these, depending on the size. These aren't really very big. You can see they're pretty small little artichoke hearts. So I've got 3 in there so far. 4, 5, 6, 7. Do I have 8 in there? Might have to actually use a spoon instead of my fingers. Imagine that, using tools. There we go. So those are the artichokes, and artichokes are actually really good for liver health. So this is a great thing to include in your diet when you can. And they're also low in histamine, so that's a good thing. So I'm just gonna pulse this a little bit, and then we're gonna add in some of the other ingredients. And if you do this process and blend while your veggies are all still nice and warm, it is quite a lot easier to blend them up and get a really nice, even creamy consistency. So just scraping down the sides, and then we're gonna go in there with all the goodness. This is my homemade ghee that I have going on here. So ghee is just butter that's had the proteins pulled off of it, scraped off of it. So it's called clarified butter. And so if you have a dairy allergy, ghee is usually okay for most people with dairy allergies. If it's an extreme allergy or sensitivity, you might have to just use straight up olive oil. You could also use coconut oil. But ghee is really great because it gives it nice flavor, and it also has a lot of butyrate in it, which is one of the favorite fuel sources for our intestinal cells. So if we're trying to do any healing and sealing of the gut, then ghee is a great option to use. And then we're gonna go in with good old olive oil. And I've had a request to do a post on olive oil, so I'm gonna do that one of these days in terms of finding a good quality olive oil, because I know that there are some challenges with that. So this is a particular brand that I use. It's the Maison Orphée. I don't know, I don't speak French, so I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. Actually, I'm not sure. It says, yeah, I think this is a French brand, but anyway, this is a good brand. And one of the tricks is putting your olive oil in the fridge. And if it gets oily and starts to solidify, then you've got a good olive oil on your hands. If it is still completely liquid when you put it in the fridge, then you've likely got an adulterated olive oil that's got some of the oils that we don't want to be using, like the seed oils and some of the more inflammatory oils. So here we have half a lemon. We're just putting in half the juice of half of a lemon. Now, if you want a little bit more of a tanginess to this, you could certainly add a little bit more lemon. I like it just like this. The other thing you could add that would be wonderful in here is the brine from your fermented food. So if you have some sauerkraut in your fridge, or you have some fermented pickles or something like that in your fridge, that would go really nicely in this, and that would give you a little bit of that probiotic food. Now in our house, I'm not doing that right now because we can't even do any fermented foods for a little while with our journey in the pandas world, but we will get back to it, and I will definitely start including it. Now the other secret ingredient that is going into this today is turmeric. Tumeric, I always say it wrong or spell it wrong, but it's this beautiful orange little root, and this is the fresh one. You could use the powder, but I like to use the fresh in this. It's about a 1-inch piece of the turmeric peeled. And this is amazing in terms of its anti-inflammatory properties. In fact, there is some research that's showing that turmeric supplements may be as powerful as Advil in terms of their anti-inflammatory properties. Something that I'm learning as we're helping my little guy bring down his inflammation in his body. So he's on fairly high levels of turmeric at the moment. So I'm going in, it might look like I'm putting in a whole whack of salt here, but this is just a 1/4 teaspoon. So I want to put in a teaspoon of salt. This is of course to your taste. If you'd like a little bit more salt, have at it. If you'd like a little bit less, that's totally cool too. Just depends on your taste. So I have everything in there, and I also have set to the side here just a 1/2 cup of water, because depending on your carrots, depending on the size of your cauliflower and a few things like that, how roasted they got, how much of the moisture was pulled out, you might need to add a little bit of water just to get to the creamy texture that you want. So let's see where we get just like this. Good. We might get there with just a tiny bit of water because what you don't want is too many little lumps and strings in there, right? Most kiddos, yeah, some that aren't really particular might think that was fine, but some kids are gonna really sort of balk at that. So we wanna make sure we can get it as creamy as we possibly can for them. So I'm just gonna splash that water in, and that's how I advise you do it, is just a little bit at a time until you get to the texture that you are particularly looking for. At my cat sitting over there with his ears back. He hates it when I run the food processor in the blender. It's too loud for his little ears. So we're getting there. So we're just going to keep blending this essentially until we get down to that nice creamy texture. I'm going to go one more time, and then I'm going to show you the finished result and tell you a new thing that I discovered you can do with this recipe just today. Forget that my food processor is getting so old that I actually have to hold the on button on most of the time or it stops on me. Okay, we're getting pretty close with that. I would probably blend it a couple more times, and if I can get this to run while I'm dishing out the other one, we'll let that happen. If not, I'm just going to show you the finished product, so I'm not, you're not hanging out watching me run the food processor, because that's a bit dull. Multitasking at its best, right? Using two hands. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. Pretty nice and creamy and lovely, and it's smelling quite nice. Now you could also add ginger to this, and that would be a really nice addition to it. And I really like the flavor of this to make it a day ahead of when we want to eat it, because the flavors really come together nicely as it sits in the fridge overnight. So we ate some of this last night, and then I dug into it this morning, and it tastes even better as it sits in the fridge. So once it sits, you get this nice, creamy, lovely looking dip, sort of an orange looking hummus. Now, I was gonna call this hummus, carrot and cauliflower artichoke hummus, a bit long. And also, I'm a little bit careful about calling things by names that they're really not, because sometimes if our kiddos eat hummus and they really like it, and then you introduce this as hummus, it doesn't taste exactly like hummus. So they're gonna be like, that's not hummus. And they might be more likely to reject it in that way. So if you just presented it as what it is, it's a roasted carrot dip, right? Or it's dip, it's orange dip. Sometimes with littler kids, if you give it a fun name, right? Like super orange dip, or I'm not so imaginative, super orange dip. But something sort of fun. That can, green is always easier for me than orange, super green, or Hulk. I used to get my kid to take chlorella pills, and he used to call them his Hulk pills. So things like that can help. But anyway, in any case, there it is. It looks nice. It has a really nice, rich, creamy texture to it. It's got a nice little bit of a sweet taste to it with just enough tang in there. I think it's perfect just with the half a lemon, but you guys play with it and feel free to do what you need to do with it. And what I discovered today that you can do with this, because I'm gonna have a whole whack load of this dip, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you, my kid is not really the biggest fan of dip. I know, most kids love a good dip. Not mine. He's not particularly crazy about it. If we have a party and I make dips, or we go somewhere and there's dips, kids are all over the dip. He doesn't care for the dip. So I got a lot of dip here to use for a kid that doesn't love dip. So what am I gonna do with all of this? So today I had some chicken stock in my fridge. I threw some of this in it with the chicken stock in a pot, a little bit of cilantro, and beautiful soup for lunch. So with some of this, actually, I'm just gonna turn it into soup. It's gonna be a carrot, artichoke, cauliflower soup. So that's, sort of multitasking with your recipe. You wanna double it up, you can make dip and you can make soup. And you've got 2 recipes out of 1. So there you go, you guys. That's another really quick and easy recipe. You see how quickly that came together. After we tune out here, I'll probably blend this for another couple of minutes just to get a little bit more smooth and creamy, and then we're done. So roasting in the oven, 30 minutes, go do your thing, come back, whip this up, and you have a really nice, tasty, super nutrient dense dip that you can serve to your kids. Use it with crunchy veggies like celery. Celery's super good for the liver and great fiber, so that's a really good one. Cucumbers, more carrots, peppers, all kinds of stuff you can use there. You can use it with the little banana chips, the roasted root vegetable chips you can get now, all kinds of things, all kinds of ways your kids can enjoy this. I think they're gonna like it, and I would love to hear all about it when you guys try it out. So that's one of the wonderful things that's going on over in our Kids Health Revolution private group, is that moms, a few of our moms especially, really love to share after they've tried out this recipe what theirs looks like. They're also sharing challenges they have, and we're troubleshooting, what happened there, which is really cool. So if you guys over there in just regular Facebook land are not over in the private Facebook group, then I really suggest that you do that. It's a wonderful community of parents, lots of great support going on over there, questions and answers and support and venting and just really good stuff. So head over to the kids private Facebook group, and the other thing that goes on there is I post a downloadable copy of each week's recipe, so you can go into the files section and just grab that recipe. So if anybody on the group doesn't know that, you can get all of the recipes. So this is number 21. So there's 21 recipes that you can download there. And if you become a member on the Kids Health Revolution website, you can get the recipes straight to your inbox. So if you don't want to bother looking for them in Facebook world, then just sign up at kidshealthrevolution.com and you'll get one sent right into your inbox every week. And as well, you get access to other resources that are over there, like 20 fabulous freezer recipes. There's a leaky gut quiz. There's MP3 recordings to listen to on the go, all kinds of good stuff. So that's it. We're done. I'm going to quit talking now and let you guys get on with your day, and I'm going to get ready for the kiddo to come storming in the door any minute. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you have questions, please post them below. I'm happy to scroll through and answer any questions that come up, comments. And if you like this video, of course, please hit that little like button for me and share it. It helps me so much in sharing my mission to get our kiddos' health back on track. Take good care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye. See you in Red Deer soon.